Hi guys, hello and welcome back to my podcast. I'm Jo, I'm the Millennial Knitter, and I'm going to be talking to you today about very excitingly a massive pile, well massive for me, of finished objects. I think I've got one work in progress and I'm going to think a little bit about talking about some Christmas gift knits. I've got some ideas and some examples from some of my finished objects, but there is absolutely time to knit before Christmas if you're looking for some quick and interesting knits. I've tried to do something a bit different than your classic snood hat, although there is a hat involved. And yeah, I'm going to talk to you about finished objects, works in progress, things I'm thinking about putting on the needles, and some knitting related purchases. I don't think I've actually bought any yarn this month, which is very exciting and unusual. I am trying to work through my stash, so I'll talk to you guys a little bit about that. A little bit about me. I am a knitter who's been knitting for just over a year now. Can you believe? I started knitting in October last year when we were still in the COVID lockdown in the UK, and have become totally obsessed. Had a bit of a break over the summer for some family reasons, and I'm now fully back into the swing of things. I've also moved house in the last couple of months. We moved at the beginning of October, and I'm now settled into our new place in the south of England. So that's me. You can see I'm set up in my little yarny corner. I've got my yarn stash behind me, which I am loving being able to see because it both reminds me and makes me feel like a little bit guilty every time I see it, so that I remember to actually knit with the yarn that I have and not just constantly purchase new yarn. I've also got my knitting journal that I'm very excited about. If you're based in the UK, I would say get yourself down to Flying Tiger, the bits and bob shops that we have. They have these really sweet little knitting journals, and I thought I'd show you inside. So this is actually one of my finished objects. Hopefully you can see my terrible handwriting. And my first finished object for today is what I'm wearing. So I am wearing, I'll put some nice photos in because I can't be faffed standing up and sitting down and things, but I am wearing my basically just off the needles finished lace jumper, which was made very excitingly for me based on a pattern that I inherited from my grandma. So I inherited the pattern from grandma. I've shown this in another one of my videos, but I inherited this huge selection of her knitting patterns, some of which go back a long way, and the first one that really caught my eye was this amazing thing. So I have recreated it with a lot of modifications, some deliberate, some due to my own mistakes. As you can see, one of the features of this is this huge ruffle. I actually ran out of yarn when I finished the garment, so I'm still debating, do I go back for more yarn to finish it off? I could do. I think it'll probably only take another ball, and I'll show you. So the yarn I've been using for this, I have become completely obsessed with. It is from a company called Onion Knit, that's the ball band, and it's organic wool and nettle, and I absolutely love it. It has knitted up beautifully. It has, you can probably tell, I mean partly it's because it's lace, but it has a really lovely drape to it. It's very soft. I don't find this at all itchy, and I'm quite fussy. It almost has like a silkiness, a bit like bamboo, but it's not stiff to knit with. So despite the fact that it's got some plant fibre in it, the wool still makes it really nice and stretchy to knit with. It has stretched a little bit upon blocking, but again it's lace, so it's hard to say. But in terms of modifications, so this pattern was written, it's a vintage pattern, so it was written in oldie worlds, and it called for 17 balls of Lister, Bel Air, Corsair double crepe, who knew what that was, and 2 9mm knitting needles. And it gave pattern options to fit a 32, 34 and 36 inch bust. So I knew that given it's a vintage pattern, I thought I'd probably be out of the top range of that, so I'm more than a 36 bust. So I decided to do a combination of things, which was knit the largest size on one size up on needles and on thicker yarn, on the basis that hopefully it would all work out in the end. And because it's lace, I knew that the fit wasn't super important. It could be kind of drapey and oversized. So I went with that. I realised once I'd got about probably 6 inches of length on the body, it's knit bottom up. I also should say that I converted it from being knit flat into knit in the round, which was fairly straightforward. because it's quite simple. There's not much shaping in terms of the body. Yeah, so I realised once I knit about 5 or 6 inches of the body that it was going to come out way too wide. So I started doing some decreases, and what I quite like is it's actually given it this kind of nice, I don't know what you would call it, like a tulip shape. So it actually kind of swings out gently. It's not what the original pattern intended, but I quite like it, so I don't mind. I have made it slightly cropped, again, because I'm a bit of an impatient knitter. Once I've got it going, I kind of want it to be done. So it's probably more cropped than it should be. And I also ended up with too much length after the armholes. So I don't know what I had done, but basically ended up with this piece would have been about up here. So I trimmed it back, sewed it up, and kind of bodged it shut. So the shoulder seams are not perfect. I also amended the sleeves slightly. It was due to have long sleeves. I really like an elbow length sleeve, so that's what I went for. And I also added a little section of fully knit rather than lace knit at the armhole, because I just thought that might make it a bit more durable. So yeah, so I stuck to some extent to the pattern, and to another extent I just made a jumper that I really like. The other thing I really like about this is it is warm without being hot. I'm somebody who runs hot all the time, so even in the winter, I'm currently wearing this with just a vest underneath, and that would be warm enough for me on a nice sunny winter's day, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I'll put some images of me wearing it so you can get a bit more of an idea of how it looks. Really love it. Would really super recommend the yarn. Dream to knit with. I would love to get it in some other colours. I've also seen that they do a mohair mix, which might be itchy for me, but I'm interested to try it. And they do another one that's, I think it's wool, alpaca and nettle, which looks like that could be really fun. So I'm quite excited to try that. So yes, that is finished object number 1, my selfish knit for the moment. Really pleased with it. Would change things in the future in that I would knit it a bit longer. I would force myself to be a bit more patient, and I may well add the collar at some point. I've been thinking about doing it as a detachable collar, but I may well add the collar at some point. So yeah, that is finished object number 1. Finished object number 2, I am equally pleased with. I am due to give this as a gift, and I am going to struggle because I love it so much. So I wanted to make something, oops, dropped something. I wanted to make something for my best friend. I've asked her in the past if she would like anything, and she hasn't suggested any garments. She hasn't said like, oh, I'd love a scarf, hat, something. So instead, what I have made her is, and I accidentally ended up working on 2 lace projects at once, but I made her this absolutely gorgeous Edda bag, market bag, and I am obsessed with it. It took, I think, about 3 or 4 evenings to knit up. It's knitted in Drops Paris. So Drops Paris cotton. It's this really nice coral pink colour. The pattern was great, really clear, knitted up a breeze. I have learned some stuff about lace knitting, so the lace is not perfect. There's definitely some areas where, if you've knitted lace before, you'll know that how you start the row is really important, because otherwise it like offsets the pattern. And there are definitely a couple of sections in here where the pattern has gone awry a bit, but fortunately I don't think you can tell. I also made a couple of snafus on the handles, but again, I don't think you could tell. I certainly don't think my friend will notice. I have, because of course I'm giving it as a gift, it's important to test it, taken it out for a test ride a couple of times and loved it, really loved it. There's a hint in the pattern about making sure you count the rows because the length is difficult to calculate, so I would suggest definitely doing that. I did not do that. But yeah, I am super pleased with this. I might well make another one. I don't know if I've got any more cotton yarn knocking around, so if I see some going cheap, I might well make another one, because it's really cute. Perfect for your book and your knitting and things. I think it will wash really nicely. I really like the shape as well. The way that the curve works, I think, is really nice. So yeah, really chuffed with that. I think that'll make a lovely Christmas gift. And that's my kind of thoughts about Christmas, is actually it's nice to give something a bit different. I feel like you could totally imagine this being found in a shop. And some of my garments are probably not shop level yet, but I feel like this absolutely could be shop level. So yeah, super pleased about that one. So that's my second finished object, which I must now wrap up. And I'll also put a little picture of me, maybe a video of me taking it out for a spin so you can see how it looks kind of in full. But yeah, I must wrap that for Christmas now so that I don't actually keep it for myself. So that was finished object number 2. In terms of the yarn, Drops Paris seems like a nice enough cotton. I think you could probably use any basic cotton yarn for it. It knitted up quickly. I've gotten really comfortable with. It's a very simple lace repeat, so it's not something you have to memorise loads of. The Edda pattern is by, I think it's Paula Strick, S-T-R-I-K-K, that kind of Scandi spelling of knitting. Definitely check it out. It wasn't a very expensive pattern. I think it was maybe a £5 or something like that. But I really liked it, really pleased with it. Simple to construct, quick to knit. I think it would be a great Christmas gift. I'm just looking to see, did I make any notes on that in my little book? What did I say? I said, I bloody love this. Knitted it in 3 evenings, couple of mistakes. Love it, would make it again. Some pretty straightforward things in there. One of the things I like about this knitting journal is it's got a little pocket, so you can pop the yarn band in there as well, which is really handy, and I've stuck a little sample in as well. Then, my next finished object, I had quite a lot of Drops Air left over from knitting a cardigan for my partner's grandma, which you'll see in another video, one of my favourite garments I've ever made. And I absolutely love Drops Air as well. So the yarn is Drops Air, which is, what does it say? 65% alpaca, 28% polyamide, which I think is the tube running through the middle, 7% wool. So it's a blown yarn, medium thick blown yarn. And it has this lovely, fluffy, kind of mohair-like texture, but it's not itchy at all. I could absolutely wear this next to my skin. So I made, using a free Drops pattern, this Sidewalk Artist Beret, and I am so pleased with it. It's another one that I am really quite tempted to keep to myself. What I love about it, and I'm sure it's, if you've made berries before, you'll be like, well, of course it's like that. But can you see there's this like really cute spiral pattern? So the top is created with a spiral pattern from the decreases. So you start at the bottom, obviously, you do the ribbing, and then you make some increases, which it does teach you how to do it without leaving holes, but I don't mind the holes. And then you decrease down again, and the way that you decrease creates this lovely spiral. And I think this took 2 evenings, so it was a really fast knit. I have, just because of the yarn I chose, I've added a little tiny bit of plastic, like elastic, into the band, just so that it keeps its grip. And then one of the things I learned that was really fun was to block it. I'll put a picture or a video in of me doing it. You put a plate inside and you stand the plate on a cup so that you get that like flat and then the space. Does that make sense? So I had no idea how to block a beret, but that apparently is how you block a beret. Well, I ruined my hair for this, but I will pop it on. I mean, how cute is that, right? I think I need to make another one. I'm probably giving this away as a Christmas gift, but I do really love it. I think that I could keep it for myself. I love a beret. I'm not a big hat wearer generally, but I love a beret. I think they're one of the only kind of hats that suits me. So yeah, going to be giving this away, I think. I have also considered adding a massive pom-pom. I mean, can you even see how cute that is? I picked up these pom-poms in a little shop in, where was I? I was north somewhere. Doesn't really help. Anyway, a little shop, and I think they're a couple of quid each, and I was just thinking about adding one here and maybe attaching it with, like, I've got a little popper on the bottom, so maybe adding it with a popper I think would be really cute. I mean, how cute is that? So yes, very tempted to do that. Super pleased with the beret. I think I might knit another one, maybe. I've got more drops. The only trouble is I don't know that many people who like blue as a colour. My friends are more like reds and neutrals and things than blue. But if I can think of anybody else who I think would like a blue one, because I've got the Drops Air left over, then I might well make another. It didn't take, as I say, it didn't take very long. And I think second time round would obviously be faster because I'd be more used to it. In terms of notes on the pattern, the Drops patterns they're free, which is amazing. They can be not the most straightforward patterns to follow, I find sometimes. So I would just say read them all through, and then what they do have at the bottom is they always have loads of videos on like different techniques and things. So when they have, sorry, checking myself out, I noticed my hair didn't look great. When they have instructions and things that don't seem totally straightforward, I suggest looking at the little videos at the bottom. There was something in here that I wasn't sure on, and I thought I should have really watched the video. But yeah, this took less than a ball, so this would be a very good, very inexpensive, quick Christmas knit if you're still looking for one. Strongly recommend. Free pattern, drop sale, which I'm sure you can find on sale at the moment. Wool Warehouse probably has it in the sale. Strongly, strongly recommend that. And another finished object, so I'm pleased about that. And then I think, is this my last finished object? So my last finished object has a bit of a story to it. So I decided that I would, you'll see in a minute why I'm laughing, that I would try and, I'll put the pattern up as well, make some felted slippers, because I have a bunch of, what is it? There we go. We Are Knitters Petit wool left over from a jumper, and because it's single ply, I thought that it would probably felt really well. So I thought, well, I'll try felting some slippers. I've seen other people do them. I've seen those really nice like Scandi slipper boot kind of things, and I had a look for some patterns. I found a free pattern for this one. I'll link it. I think it's from, I can't think of the website now, but I'll link it down below, and I'll try and put an image up of the pattern. And it's called something like the 2 hour slippers. So I thought, well, that seems like something I can do. And basically you knit them, you knit flat for the first bit, join in the round, finish knitting them up, decrease for the toe, and then whack them in the washing machine to felt them. And that's where things get a bit interesting. So I did my first one, very pleased with it. Thought to myself, okay, I'll put it in a reasonably hot wash so that I can be sure that it definitely felts. And bearing in mind that I was aiming for an adult women's slipper, UK size 6-ish, like so that it would fit me and I could gift it to somebody. This is the size of the first one, which, if you can guess from my hand, is not exactly the size of an adult woman's slipper. So he came out tiny and small, and I was a bit gutted, but it turns out that this might fit my nephew. So if I can face it, I will make another one and shrink it to make it this size. So after I'd got over laughing to myself about my felted state, I mean, in a way, it's kind of nice because it's felted really thick. So it would be like dead cozy, but it is very small and I couldn't stretch it out anywhere. That wasn't going anywhere. So I discovered that the slipper worked, but my felting was a bit enthusiastic. So then I did it again, and huzzah, made one that actually fits my foot. So this guy was slipper number 2. And I suppose my takeaway from this is that you should really felt things together at the same time if you want them to end up consistent. So I felted this one, I was like, okay, cool, I've nailed it. 40-degree wash, standard, washed it with a few other bits of clothes, came out just about perfect. I was like, okay, I've got this. Then I put my other one in, and I did it for the same wash, same amount of time, and it came out massive. So it hadn't felted down really at all. So I have no idea what I did, but this guy has now been in the wash 4 times to try and get him to shrink. So I thought, well, I'll try him just on a spin cycle. No, didn't move. I thought boiling water in a spin cycle, so I did that, didn't move. And then I put it on a funny, because I can't put it through the wash again, because what if it comes out tiny and small? So anyway, so I washed it again this morning on like a gentle quick wash or something, and it has now finally come out the same size. So I have now got 2 slippers that are pals and that are more or less the same size. So I am actually pretty chuffed with them. The fabric that has come out, I'll show you the nice one. This one's still actually a bit wet because it was in the washing machine this morning. So the fabric has felted up really nicely. I think that they might not be like slippers you could wear absolutely every day, but say you were going to a hotel or something, I think they'd be perfect to like stick in your bag if you're somebody that doesn't want to walk about in bare feet somewhere. They would roll up really nice and small. And I'm hoping that I can think of somebody that would like these as a Christmas present. I think they're really sweet. And they did take definitely now that I know the pattern, I reckon I could knock these out in less than 2 hours. It's taken me, say, an evening per slipper, not including all the time faffing about with the washing machine. But yeah, I reckon I could knock these out in 1 evening per slipper. Maybe I could get more than that done if I really rushed it. So yes, two little slippers and one spare one. Oh, looking at them on camera, we'll have to make sure that these do actually end up the same size. Anyway, that's my other finished object. So I'm quite pleased with these, although it was a journey to get there. Shows that I should really plan things a bit more carefully. And that used, gosh, barely any yarn at all. I reckon under half a ball per slipper. So because it's got the 2 colours in it, I think if you had a ball of each, you could definitely make 2 with a ball of each colour. Probably more than that. So yeah, really pleased with these guys. Pleased with how they knitted up. Think they'll make a nice gift for somebody. Again, something a bit different than your classic hat, gloves, scarf, Christmas present. Thought this would be something a bit more unusual for somebody. So hopefully I can find somebody who is knit and gift worthy to give these to. And if I feel up to it, I'll make one more and try and shrink it really small so that my nephew gets a matching pair and doesn't have to just hop about. So I think is that the last of my finished objects? Yeah, that's the last of my finished objects. So the other thing I've got then is my work in progress, which I've showed before, I think in my last podcast. I'm making a V-neck jumper for my mum for Christmas. I have got now to basically where I'll split for the sleeves, and I have got through the majority of the first sleeve as well. Hopefully you can see that there. This is another, I keep just saying all the yarn is really lovely, but all the yarn is really lovely. And for this one I am working with, put on here, this. Adriafila Lana naturale Inca. It is, what is it, a blend of 50% alpaca, 50% wool. It has got a really, really lovely drape to it. And what are my notes? What have I said in my little notes to myself? I'm working on 5mm needles. It's the basic V-neck pullover pattern by Knit Picks. I'm making Mum the 3rd size, which I guess is probably a medium. I am worried that it's going to come out a little bit big for her, but I'm hoping that even if it's oversized, it'll be like cosy oversized. The yarn has this lovely brown and grey texture to it, kind of mild through. She's not a big colour lover, so I've tried to make something that I think she'll really enjoy. I'm going to try and bash through the next sleeve and then get on to the more tricky part, which is the, doing all the necks and everything. So yeah, don't think I've made tons of progress since we were last together, mostly because I've been working on these little gift knits. But this sleeve is nearly done, and I don't think that was that far the last time. So I've found I really like using short circulars for sleeves. I haven't really experimented with DPNs, but I find that short circulars, you can just bosh away on them without really thinking about it, particularly if you're just on the train or something. So I really enjoyed those. So that's I think, my only WIP at the moment, which is exciting, because that means I can cast on more things. I think I'm at that point in the year, it's the middle of November, when I'm speaking to you, where I would like to knit something else for myself, but I'm also really focused on gift knitting. So I'm kind of having to think about and make decisions about what to knit next. So with that in mind, I will show you guys some acquisitions. So I think I've only got one knitting related acquisition, and then talk a little bit about future knitting. So acquisitions, I think, yeah, I've only got one, or well, there's a few, but they're all the same. And it is these little drawstring bags from Tiger again. Now I wish I was, I am not sponsored by Tiger, but I found that they had all these little bags in. I think they're in as Christmas bags, but they are canvas drawstring bags, and they have been absolutely perfect little on-the-go project bags for me. So when I've been doing a hat or a slipper or something, I can easily get ball, needles, tape measure, scissors, whatever, in one of these, tie it up and on the go. And I think they were a couple of pounds each. So I got maybe half a dozen of those, and I'm loving them. I'm going to definitely keep using them. I was going to try and give them away for Christmas, but I think actually they're too useful, because I like to have lots of little projects on the go, so I think I'm going to keep using those. And I've dug out actually another a WIP that has been in purgatory that I really need to think about what I'm going to do with. So in the summer, gosh, this is a tangled mess, made a lot of progress on this, which is actually a very beautiful George's top, which is this very simple V-neck top that has these extravagant bows on the sleeves. So there's big long bows on the sleeves. And I have, God, I've done more than I thought. I basically knit the whole front, most of the body, as you can see, front and back. And then what I realised had happened was I had done something horribly wrong on the straps. So you can probably see that this one is quite a lot thicker than this one at the same height. So something has gone wrong in my maths. And for ages, at one, I had the bows on this about this long. So the other day I decided, and the reason this is Spaghetti Junction, is I frogged all of this. I thought that I had done a better job of, I'm going to have to sort this out. I thought I'd done a better job of tidying this up and putting it back into a ball, but clearly I have not. Anyway, what I should say is this is so nearly a top that I should really just finish it. The question is, do I finish it as originally planned, so turn it into an extravagant thing with bows, which I really liked, or do I somehow bodge it into like a V-neck, short-sleeved, jumpery thing, which maybe I would wear more? Because I thought the bows were really cute, but realistically, when am I going to wear a bright pink top with massive bows? I am an adult woman in a fairly professional job, so I'm not sure how much wear I'd get out of that. But I don't know, what would you do? The yarn I'm using is really nice. It's a silk blend. I got it as a kind of, lost the yarn band, I will find that again. I got it for sale in a yarn shop near Bakewell when I was visiting friends, and it's a cotton silk blend, so it's really soft, very drapey. Love the colour, love everything about it, apart from the fact that I messed it up and then basically took the huff and have not touched it since. So I could, instead of starting something new, I could pick this back up again. So maybe I'll try and persuade myself to do that, because I think it would be really lovely. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What do you think I should do? Should I make it the bows? Should I make it something a bit more practical? What would you do if you were me? So that, I suppose, is my work in progress. Oh God, the yarn is everywhere. Might just leave that out so that I can actually deal with that. And then in terms of other knitting plans, I probably have a couple more people to gift knit for. I have a friend who I think would like quite a neutral accessory with some pops of colour. And I want to really use my stash. I'm, like everybody is, feeling the pinch a bit at the moment financially. And I think if I've got, you know, probably hundreds of pounds, more than £100 worth of yarn sitting there, and people would love hand knit gifts, I feel like I should prioritise using this and knitting for people rather than buying them things if I can. I hope that's nice. I hope that's a nice thing to do. So I could use up some of my yarn. I do have, sorry about that guys, ran out of space. So I think I was just about to talk about the knitting kind of semi plans that I've got. So I'd like to do a couple more gift knits. One of the yarns that I'd like to use is this guy, which is Cotton Flecky Fleece. It's 75% cotton, 13% polyamide or acrylic, 12% wool. It's got a nice kind of fluffy thing to it. And the friend that I was thinking of making something for, I made them a not particularly brilliant snood last year when I was just starting to learn, and it was a kind of chunky acrylic thing. So I'd like to make them something, but I haven't got any bright ideas for it. I don't want to make them a neck thing, because I did that last year. I don't think they'd be a big scarf, like glove wearer. They might end up with the beret, but if not, I want to do something with this, and I don't quite know what. I haven't got time or really inclination to make them a whole jumper. So yeah, any thoughts? Something I could do with that? Love to know in the comments any thoughts on that. Similarly, I have this, one of the first very beautiful single skeins that I bought is this, which is by the Yarn Whisperer on Instagram. I bought it at my first yarn festival, which was Unravelled in Farnham, and it is Koi Pond, and it's an 80/20, so I guess it's a sock yarn, merino. I mean, is it not just what you can tell the colours I like? That's funny. One of the most beautiful things you've ever seen. But it's only a single skein, so what do I make with it? Any suggestions for a single skein? Either for I probably don't want to do any more lace knitting because I've just finished 2 big lace projects. But is there anything I could make myself out of this or make for somebody else? I think it's too beautiful for a hat. What do you think? That would be something I'd like to make something out of. Then other kind of projects I should really get cracking with. One of the things I've been promising I'd make myself using these guys, which is, I bought this before with a controversy, but it's the mixed yarn, organic cotton and organic wool from We Are Knitters, which I think I would really enjoy, because again, not too hot because it's got the cotton blend. I want to make one of those very Parisian white or cream and blue striped sweaters. I'm thinking that I'd like a collar, like a V-neck collar, so maybe something like the Maud t-shirt by Petit Knit. That one looks a bit advanced for me, but something kind of similar. I was thinking of also Easy Knit, a Danish company, do a jumper with a V-neck, but I think that might be chunkier than this. So I am tempted to make this for myself, but it feels like quite a big, like that would be a big project. These would be relatively small needles. What needle size does it actually say? Oh no, 5mm, that's not too bad. 5mm needles, I think it would knit up really nicely. I think it's something I would wear like tons. So stripy V-neck, something for me, with a collar ideally. So any suggestions, love to see them. And then other selfish projects. I bought this, which is a kind of mohair substitute, which is Cumulus by Fibre Spates, and it's a very sweet, very soft, fluffy guy. I had a pattern in mind when I bought it. I've since seen loads of others. What I wanted to use it for was some kind of sweater or jumper that has like a sheer and a non-sheer situation. So you know, there are some, Jessie Maid has like a sheer V-neck where it's like a sheer V here and then you hold double thickness for kind of not sheer, where it needs to be not sheer. So I was thinking of something like that. But I need to just decide and actually start going with it. Something's keeping me from doing it, so I'm not quite sure what that is. Maybe because the colour's not very exciting. I know I'd wear it loads though, so who knows. And then lastly, this is calling out to me at the moment. So this is a wool and bamboo that I picked up in Rotterdam. I've shown this before. I think as a really simple shrug, like not quite a cropped cardigan, but maybe literally a shrug. Would that not just be gorgeous? But all the shrugs that I've seen on Ravelry have been a bit fussy. I think I want one which is literally just like maybe ribbed around the corners, 2 arms, and kind of loose back, maybe almost that like 80s style, like batwing kind of situation. I would think I would wear that tons. The other thing, I haven't got a specific yarn for it, but the other thing I've been thinking about a lot is knitting a skirt. I've seen a really nice design, I'll try and put it here, of a simple knitted mini skirt that I think I would really like and get a lot of wear out of. So I'll put a little picture of it here. But what about you? What are you guys working on? You got any Christmas knits to finish up? I'd love to hear from you, any suggestions that you've got on some of the things that I've shown, or any thoughts about Christmas gift knits I could get cracking on whilst I've still got a bit of time. I've still got, what, a month and a bit to knit, so there's definitely time to make a few more things. Thank you again for coming and spending some time with me. I really enjoy getting a chance to chat about all my knitting plans, so thank you very much for joining me. You can catch me over on Instagram, I'm themillennial.knitter, and hopefully I'll see you back soon. Bye guys.